Next is demographic cycle. So there are 5 stages in this demography. The first stage is high stationary stage, that is where the birth rate is high, the death rate is also high. It is like almost the birth rate and death rate will cancel each other, so that the population will almost remain stationary, but the population is more. So India was in this stage till 1920. The next is the second stage, or also called as early stationary stage. In this, the death rate starts decreasing, but then birth rate will remain the same. That is, whatever high birth rate you have, that will remain, whereas the death rate decreases. So many South Asian and African countries are in this phase. So why maybe the birth rate is still high and death rate is decreasing? Maybe because of the healthcare services provided in these whichever places. The next stage is the third stage, also called as late expanding stage. In this stage, death rate decreases further, and also the birth rate starts decreasing. So the population continues to grow because birth rate is still more than death rate. India has entered this stage. Basically, most of the developing countries are in this third stage. Next is the fourth stage, that is low stationary stage. Here where both birth rate and death rate have decreased and almost the population growth has become stationary. So it is sort of zero population growth. This stage is seen in countries like Austria, Sweden, Denmark, UK, Belgium. Most of the industrialized countries have undergone to this stage, shifting from high rates to low birth and low death rates. The final stage is the fifth stage, that is the declining phase, where the population begins to decline because the birth rate is lower than the death rate. So some countries like Germany, Hungary are in this stage where there is no population growth at all. So these are the stages of the demographic cycle. Please remember this. This generally comes as a short answers in your exam. Next is the demographic trends. So it took almost 1800 years to reach 1 billion population. That is the whole world population at 1800 year was 1 billion. But then just check out the next billion when we got. It is within 130 years we added one more billion. The third billion we got within 30 years. The fourth billion in almost 14 years. the same thing goes on. If the population increases in the same way currently, it is projected that we will reach 8 billion by 2025. That is the projected population currently. So the three-fourth of the world population lives in developing country. But then you should know that the third most populated country in the world is US. The first is China, second is in India, you know that. But do you know the difference between the population of India and US? It is almost 900 million difference between US population and Indian population. India accounts 17% of the population of the world, whereas US, which is the third populous country in the world, has got 4.5% of population of the world. So if the same trend goes on, India will become the first country, the most populous country in the world. India's population has steadily increased from 1921 onwards. That is why it is called as Big Divide. The year 1921 is called as Big Divide. The absolute number of people added to the population during each decade has been increasing since 1921. It is projected that by 2020 we will reach 1.5 billion. So India will come to the first will become the most populous country in the world. Let us know about some demography indicators, or rather some rates, some ratios we'll get to know. So demographic indicators have been divided into two parts: population statistics and vital statistics. Population statistics include indicators that measure the population size, sex ratio, density, and then the dependency ratio. The vital statistics includes the birth rates, death rates, growth rate, life expectancy, then mortality and fertility rates. So you should know demography indicators are divided into population statistics and vital statistics. Some of the population statistics are the population size, sex ratio, density, and the dependency ratio. Vital statistics includes death rates, birth rates, mortality rates, fertility rates, etc. So basically these indicators help us to identify the areas that need whatever programs, interventions we can think of. So the crude birth rate, crude death rate, birth rate is number of live births by mid-year population into 100, crude death rate, number of deaths by mid-year population into 100. These are all will be doing this in the problem section, that is in your practicals. Growth rate. Growth rate is you're subtracting the death rate from birth rate. That gives you growth rate. So growth rate, if it is the annual rate of growth, there are ratings for that. If it is less than 0.5, then it is a slow growth. The population growth is very slow. And if it is 2, more than 2, it is explosive growth in a country. Next is age and sex composition. That is basically in the age group of less than 15, how many people are there, female versus male. So more than 60 years of old people, how many females are there, how many males are there. Why you should know all this? As I said again, you need to know all these rates and ratios to think of a program or an intervention which will help the economic growth of the country. Next is age pyramid. Age pyramid in India, it looks like a pyramid only because the birth rate is more, then the death rate is little less. The middle age group people constitute almost about 60% of the population. So if you actually write down the number of people in each age and gender, you can construct a pyramid. That is why it is called as age pyramid. Whereas in developed countries, the birth rate is low, their life expectancy will be more. So the old age people also will be more. The economic group, that is between the middle aged group, will also be more. This age, it won't look like a pyramid. It is sort of a barrel shaped. That will be in developed countries. If you look at these pictures in the textbook, you'll get an idea what is age pyramid in developed countries and how it will be in developing countries. Next is sex ratio. Defined as the number of females per males. What is the current sex ratio in our country? Anybody? How many females per males? Hemant?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Hemant. What is the sex ratio, current sex ratio in our country, man? Any idea?
Uh, Hello, ma'am.
Hmm?
950 female, 940 females for 1000 males.
9?
940 females